Have you ever made another perimeter, or in the process making one now, or even thinking about attempting at this very moment? Or even if you even watched your favorite creator make one or multiple of these perimeters? You may or may not be aware what a long project this actually is. The first step, besides picking out a location to make another perimeter, is tunnel boring the area required to fit your world eater. This area there is a bunch of liquids, or in our case only with the Nether, only lava. These little pockets are not really that difficult to take care of, but are very time consuming, especially on larger scales. What if there was such a machine that could clear out all of this for you automatically? Would you use it? Time to find out what the amazing creators over in the Slimestone community, specifically Desu Desu, have made for you today. Alright, as you saw from that intro clip there, I was boring out the main section over here to get the clearance required for the sweeper that we have right in front of us here, and then also did do 2 of the side trenches because the machine obviously has no TNT in it, so it can't clear itself out. So everything is all built up and ready to go. And I did run it a couple times just to be sure that it actually does work, and of course you can see it as it did. There's some blocks that are now behind the machine, which the part that actually moves is from this observer to this observer right here, or to this one right here actually. So those go across and it'll pull the blocks out if it can't push them, so it checks to push the blocks that way first. If it can't, then this other sticky piston right here will pull it back. So yeah, these two are responsible for pushing it forward, that way it gets behind the observer, so it goes, the blocks will be deposited right here, as you can see that it's right there. Basically what it'll try to do is push the blocks into the open gaps if there are any, or if there is, you know, not 12 blocks in front of it, like kind of like a quarry block shield. So if it can push it, it'll push it, and then that means the sticky piston here won't be able to pull anything. If it can't push it because this is more than 12 blocks in length, this sticky piston is responsible for pulling it back. That way it gets pushed and pushed out of the way. So yeah, this makes a tunnel bore very easy because it'll just clear out all these, you know, hundreds of lava pockets that you see here. It'll just clear all of them all out. So that way you don't got to worry about it when you run the tunnel bore. The only thing you have to do is make the 2 side trenches, as I call them, for the actual sweeper to go back and forth. So, of course, this machine is by Desu, so definitely not my design whatsoever. I think I'm going to be using it quite a bit because of all the nether perimeters that we have done. This would have been very useful for quite a few other projects for this, but I am happy that it is a thing now because it's going to make this time very, very simple. I did actually, this is my second time actually using this machine because I didn't want to figure out if it was actually worth it, if it was making a video. I did want to actually use it my first time without any, you know, plans and, you know, made it work. So the normal machine is actually 2 modules smaller. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I have actually 7 blocks because of the tunnel bore that I use, which is the 5x3 bore. So this one will clear out all the way down basically to 101 or 102 with the quartz and gold ores. So all you need to do is just mine that last layer by hand to clear it out enough space, and it also kind of flosses the bedrock as well, so you have that all cleared for if you were to run a world eater over top of it. You don't got to worry about that. But the reason why I use this board for the most part is it's easy to build and clears out quite a bit of space because it's a triple shot bore as well. But yeah, enough rambling about the actual bore because you've seen quite a bit of that. So first thing you got to do in the time lapse there in order is make this regular bore to clear out the enough space for the main trench. The reason why you're making this so wide, obviously you really only need a double shot, but I did the 3. That way you have space for making the actual bore behind it. So when you have to make the big bore to go across after the sweeper already goes across, you don't gotta worry about that. So you have plenty of space over here to make that. And then you make the 2 side trenches because you have clearance now on the side of your perimeters to then give enough space for this machine to actually go through and do its job. This little piston right here with the redstone block is your auto on-off switch. This part of the machine is not included on Desu's bore. This is the on-off. This is the auto-off thing that I included for the bore, because you can't just place a redstone block all the way down at the end here. Two factors of this being this observer in the way, as well as all of these pistons that would get powered by said redstone block. So what you have to do is you actually have to push the redstone block into place, which is what that piston does down there. So we basically just caterpillar this on to have enough delay. Otherwise, if we push this redstone block here too early, what it'll do is it'll power this one, and then obviously the machine wouldn't be able to move. So what we do here is we just chain it around to then go power the sticky piston after everything else pushes forward. That way you don't run into any issues, and it's a very simple add-on. Of course, all schematics that I will be using will be linked in the description down below. So the normal sweeper, as well as the 5x3 tunnel bore, both of the normal schematics will be in the Slimestone Discord that will be linked at the top. Everything else that I use in this video, so the smaller bores and the extended sweeper here with the on-off switch schematic will also be in the AutoCraft Discord because they're different schematics. It's the same concept of the machines. They're just adaptations that I made to fit my use case here a little bit better, because you can actually extend this as far down as you want. It will work just fine because it is all instant wire and stuff like that in the back. So the ones that I have slightly modified for my use case, Desu's being the auto off switch there, as well as sending it down, and the smaller version of the bore will be linked in the public archive of the AutoCraft Discord if you wanted to get your hands on those. And of course, the regular bore will be in the Slimestone archive Discord if you wanted to get your hands on those. But yeah, now it's time to actually let this machine run. It'll go across, clear all the lava for us, making the overall bore process a heck of a lot easier. So a big thank you to Desu for making this machine, and maybe soon down the line we have one that is also vertical, so we have to do the same for the regular trenches. So who knows, maybe that will be my next video on this sort of style machine. So if that is the case, if it were to happen, it would be very useful for making nether perimeters, because the trenches and the boring are like the worst parts about nether. Alternative ways to get around this are to break the bedrock roof. So this is like one of the alternative. If you didn't want to break the bedrock roof, but you wanted to make your life a little bit easier when making another perimeter, you can use this machine in combination with a couple of small bores to then make it a lot easier to do. So yeah, enough rambling. I'm going to start this machine, maybe get a time lapse of it actually running. That way you can actually see how it works in action. But yeah, get this underway. We'll be back once we're ready to set up the final bore. Right now, you technically could make the actual bore, the big bore that goes all the way across from here, all the way down to this end here. That way you're ready to go. However, you really can't really launch it too much because you don't want to blow up the sweeper, obviously. So once, for the sake of the video, I'm going to let this run all the way down, and then I'll build the bore up. But you can obviously do that as you're waiting for the sweeper to go across, because it will take about 15 hours or so for a sweeper to go all the way across a standard 272 block perimeter, which is why I thought it'd be really nice to add this auto-off feature. That way, if you forget about it, it's not going to go and break in the wall and stuff like that. Alright, so while I was actually in the process of making this video, it was only supposed to be about the sweeper itself. However, when I saw the sweeper, I kind of had an idea that I brought up to someone in the Slimestone community that is much better at designing this sort of stuff than I am, about the possibility of making a fully automated 3-way tunnel bore. Now, of course, it has its challenges where it has to not only deal with the liquids, but it also has to deal with the leftover ancient debris because we are in the Nether. So there is one that's already kind of done for the overworld, because you don't have to worry about any those blocks left over. Of course, you still need to remove all of the obsidian and stuff like that that would generate in the overworld, but we don't see it being used in the overworld all too much. However, the main annoyance of making another perimeter besides the trenches with all the lava is the tunnel bore, because not only does it take a lot of time, but
some people just don't like building that whole giant tunnel board, even though they have gotten far cheaper and easier to build as time has gone on with new designs and better designs and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm only doing this one on this scale for the purpose of the video. I definitely probably wouldn't do this on a smaller scale again. I would definitely use a sweeper. I don't know if I would use this board here. I guess it depends on how, amazing that this is. If it's, that much better than making the big board, maybe I do. I guess we'll have to see after this first time I'm going to use it here. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to regular boring for a smaller perimeter. But anything larger than a 272, I think it might be worth it. Now, yes, you don't get the ancient debris, but this one will clear it out of the way, so that way it's fully AFK-able for the most point after you run the sweeper. Unfortunately, you probably could design them both, but there would be such a large space that this sweeper needs to start in front of this bore so they're not get blown up, which is why Desu decided to just basically say, you just run the sweeper first. Once that gets a little bit ahead, then you can start building the bore. It's the better alternative. Obviously, ideally, it would be all combined into one machine, but you don't gotta want to clear out like 30 or you don't gotta want to clear out like 60 blocks of extra space for no reason if you don't need to. So the idea for now is to just run them both individually. And that way, you get the best of both worlds in a sense, because you don't got to worry about clearing out the space for the tunnel bore yourself, which is a huge help. You don't got to clear out the space for the World Eater, all by yourself, which can be a pain on larger scales, but that's where I think this machine is going to shine. Yes, it is going to take slower over the long distance, but what I think, if you wanted to do it on I think a 512 is the max width I would go for a single machine. If you're going to do like 1,000 plus, I would use about a machine every 500 blocks, basically. So that would mean you need a large centered, trench, that I'm going to call them. Because you not only need to fit the return of this machine, you also got to refit the start of the next machine. So you probably need like a 4 or 5 wide bore of the ones that I use to clear out the trenches here. If you wanted to do that, which I probably might do in the future. So if you're interested in that, I definitely would stay tuned, because I probably will be doing a rather large Nether perimeter project with these machines here, just because it's make the initial grind of it that much more easier and practical compared to other ways of, I would think, you would need to tackle this project. So this is kind of the best alternative if you don't want to break the bedrock roof above first for your projects. I would say this is where that is going to shine, or of course, if you don't even plan to break the bedrock roof at all, this will be the easiest way, I think, to create another perimeter. Even if you're an experienced perimeter maker like myself, where we have basically close to 50 perimeters in this world so far. So I definitely, depending on how this is for a smaller scale one, I might actually use it a lot in the future. If not, there's a couple of the larger ones that we will also have planned to do. So either way, I'll use it again. Just depends how frequently will I use it. But that's what that is here to find out. So yeah, it's only been about 5 minutes, and I kind of already have a majority of this main side here already built. So overall, this is probably like total both sides, probably like about 15-20 minutes to fully build up. That's really not that bad, considering how much time it would probably take you to make an actual full-length tunnel bore. Now, of course, you're going to have to factor in the time for AFK compared to actually just regularly boring it out. Overall, I think it'll be good. So let me finish building this up here, and we'll cut to maybe a time lapse of this actually running, because it'll be a lot easier to capture than the sweeper itself, because you'll be able to see a lot more than what you would with the sweeper. But yeah, basically going to just align the schematic with the topmost block being those ones back there. Right under the bedrock, there are no slime blocks there, so you don't got to worry about if there's not gaps to the bedrock like there are over there. That makes it a lot more enjoyable to run. The sweeper had the same sort of concept. There was blocks up top right next to the bedrock, but there was no slime blocks or honey ones up there. That way it wouldn't catch on to anything stuck in between the bedrock if you didn't clear all that out, because Green Basalt Delta, that's not the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to get on finishing this up, and I'll be back once we is all done.
I know, but I can never match your name to face my fault. But when I noticed it was far too late, you left a fingerprint on my soul.
Alright, so this sweeper has been running for overnight. I got a little bit of a time lapse in the front there, as you can see. And like it in, we have a couple of debris kind of scattered around. I mean, it's not going to be much up here, but it is going to be something you have to take care of. So that's what the sweeper part of the board does. It pushes it all down and leaves it for you to mine up later. So that'll be good for me to just go through that. But yeah, we're actually going to see how it goes, because I actually was logged in and there's actually going to be one and then another one back to back that'll go down. But it's really interesting to see how this front part, of course, moves, as well as it going back, because that doesn't look right, but somehow works. But I don't know, Desu's kind of different with Slimestone and stuff, so I learned to not question if it works. It works, you know, no matter how weird it looks, it works. There's nothing that you really need to do with it. But yeah, the on-off was kind of difficult to do because of all these downwards facing pistons here. We really can't just like place a redstone block. You have to attach it some way, and it's just really not that feasible to do that I could figure out with an auto stop. So I kind of just got to watch it. You'll be good to go. But yeah, so you can see the stuff here. It looks really weird, but apparently this pushes it all down, all the way down to the bottom in one pass, which is kind of interesting to probably have to look at. Because most of it doesn't really make sense, especially the ones at the top there that look like they don't push anything down, but I mean, Desu has worked. I mean, Desu says it works, so I mean, you can tell it's been going for like, I want to say almost 12 hours now, and yeah, it's gotten a bunch of them down so far. So we're gonna see it right here. We're gonna see the staircase that it's going to push this ancient debris down. It's actually the one further back, and we also just exposed another one down there. But yeah, so it's not a lot, but it is enough to you have to actually take in consideration when doing stuff like this. All right. So here we go. It's going to start going down the piston line here. And there it goes. It's deposited it there. And then I guess that's what this back machine's for, is to push it down even further. That way, so it's out of the ways of all the rest of the machines, so it doesn't get stuck on this stuff back here, which you wouldn't want either. So that'll be moved down by 1 on the next one, and then it'll be moved by down 1 there, and then 2. So it's a whole different process that it deals with it. But overall, it's still a pretty unique one, because otherwise you kind of just have to deposit it on the side. Whereas with this, you can just push it down and you'll be good to go. So yeah, probably gonna another like I would say like 8 hours or so, maybe another 10 until this is fully done. Like I said, it's not a fast machine by any means, so definitely something you have to take into consideration if you wanted to do this. I think it's pretty alright for this scale. I think it's more beneficial on the larger scales, especially with the sweeper combination, because you basically don't have to worry about any liquids for the bore section, which makes it overall a lot easier to do this kind of sort of project if you wanted to do that. So yeah, once it's done, it'll basically be everything there that I have for today. So we'll be back once it's fully done. That way we have the full area all bored out, ready for you to start making trenches, as well as the ward eater. Alright, so the sweeper is basically on its last one. I put the redstone block, because right now it's not going to get interfered with anything. Actually just had to place a couple of blocks, because the sweeper is like right finishing right about these last 2 blocks here. But I'm trying to get it as far as I can, so I'm going to launch it one more time. That way it's as smooth as what this bore has already cleared out as well. But yeah, you can see all the ancient debris that it's left over so far. I mean, this is pretty much all of it. I don't think we're going to expose any more. There's even some down there that super actually went through, because it's a little bit lower. But yeah, it's actually quite a bit. So I'm going to mine it up, tally it all up while the last one is running, just to see what we got here, which should be pretty standard because it is just regular perimeter. So we should get, it'll be pretty decent. I mean, it's still above where a majority of the debris will generate, so you're not going to get a whole lot, but it'll still be something. I mean, this could be something you wanted to use, not to ideally get ancient debris. If you wanted to do that, I would say probably the bottom of the world's the best, but the sweeper wouldn't work for that, so it would be really annoying to clear out all the lava with this bore otherwise. But yeah, overall this thing's been a huge time saver, to say the least. But yeah, now that this is all done, it's basically time to start doing trenches and stuff like that. But as nice as this all has been with the sweepers, the trenches are still another big pain to complete with this sort of stuff. So at the moment, I am kind of looking into sort of something that could work for the trenches, but you have to deal with gravel, so that's the other thing that is making this a bit difficult to design, especially for me. But you would have to figure something out with that, and it's not the easiest of things to do, because you gotta pull it in a certain way or push it on and something like that'll break it. And if you want to use the same sort of concept as the regular sweeper that we did first by Desu, you gotta figure out a different way to actually get rid of that gravel, which can be difficult. We have about 16 Debbie, or a little one on the floor there too, so 17. That's not too bad. You know, it's kind of what you would expect for this this sort of scale at this height. It's also pretty smooth on the floor too, which doesn't really help too much, but it gives you a little bit of extra space for when you're making the road eater, since it really only clears out about 15 blocks for a basalt delta. So since we're in the like the nether waste, we have quite a bit extra space to work with, which will make the world eater building a bit more easier to do. Yeah, that's basically everything here. You got occasional, you know, ores that are stuck up an extra block, but for the most part, it's relatively clear once you get rid of all of that ancient debris. And yeah, now this is all done, we can tear it down and finish off the perimeter. So if you guys plan to use this, everything, like I said, will be linked in the description down below for the schematics for the sweeper and the tunnel bore here. So if you plan on using it, make sure you get your hand on the schematic down there, and thank Desu for these amazing machines, because they have worked quite wonders for us. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.